microphones. Everything. And remember, please speak into your microphones.
Yes.
Not just for tonight, for here, but for the audio recording. All right, and a very good evening, and my apologies at 8 minutes past the hour. We're going to call our meeting of the Bedminster Township Committee, our regularly scheduled meeting for November 7th, 2016. Our entire committee is with us tonight, although we've been, our Township Attorney, Mr. Bellardo, seems to be running a little late. Can we open Public Meetings Act statement, Ms. Sullivan?
Yes, sir. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News in Somerville and to the Burnsville News in Burnsville to all subscribers, and also posted here at the Township Building as of January 14, 2016.
I'll ask you all to join in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have two sets of meeting minutes, our regular session from October 17th and our executive session. Does anybody have any comments or questions or additions or subtractions to those? If not, I will take a motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Permits and raffles, we only have one tonight, and that would be a social affair permit. And that would be for the Midland Foundation. That's November 20th, 2016, 4:45 to 10 p.m. That is at the Purnell School. Any comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Again, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Mr. Bellardo is here, but we're going to move things a little bit out of order. No, thanks.
Very bad accident on 287 South between 26 and 22, so I apologize for my lateness.
That's okay. Instead of going to public comments, let's go to the reports from our subcommittee chairs and our administrators report. Then we will come back, let Mr. Bellardo get settled. Mr. Payne, anything from the monthly report?
In the interest of brevity, because of the early morning for our staff, nothing that can't wait till the next meeting there.
In the same spirit, I'll pass along.
All right.
Okay.
Ms. Jacobs?
Setting some kind of precedent here, a little pressure. Environmental, Stacy and I just attended the open space inventory, which is a joint between open space and environmental. John, I want to follow up with you regarding the high property in Spook Hollow. The road issue was not the bottom of the hill, but really towards the top, and we can talk about that separately. And then Land Use Board, we have the introduction of the ordinance, which the Planning Board did return back to the committee, which will be subject to further discussion this evening.
All right. Santucci?
Yes, just following up with what Larry said, we did go on the open space environmental joint tour. We're going to put something a little bit together in writing and bring it back to the board about what we saw, and it was worthwhile. So. Okay.
Anything I'll add, or I was going to ask you, do you share anything from your meeting last Friday with the county redevelopment?
No, we can put that on for our next meeting.
Okay.
That's going to go pretty far-ranging the field.
Okay. All right. Administrator's report, Ms. Sullivan.
Sir, we received a letter which I provided a copy to you, I think through an email, the municipal aid. We were awarded a 2016 municipal aid package for Meadow Road. Received notification on October 27th for $223,500 for the pavement of Meadow Road. This has to be completed within 24 months, so we have some time. By March 18th, 2018, not quite 24 months, I think 8 months. The entire project is about $375,000 to do the whole road, so, but a good chunk is coming from the municipal aid. Transportation trust fund projects, We did receive notification from the state that we're back on to complete the two that we have, one being Old Dutch Road, one being Robertson Drive. Old Dutch Road, there are some issues that need to be discussed, and that will be an executive session this evening. Right now, Old Dutch East does need to be milled and paved, and Robertson Drive hasn't started yet, but a notice to proceed, actually as of today, was issued, and we will be notifying the various neighborhood associations that will be impacted by the project probably tomorrow with that. And we still need to get together after the election, maybe before the end of November, early December, to finish up the personnel policy updates with Committeeman Olson and Committeewoman Santucci. And just a reminder about the League Convention coming up on the 15th to the 17th down in Atlantic City. I need to know for sure who's going and what days you're going, just so that we can put together final packages for you. We'll probably email them to everybody of all the information you need. So I need to know, myself and Diane, one or the other, what days you intend to go, and if you're staying over, what your plans are, so we can finalize our plans. Okay?
We can see you right now, or you want to just email?
If you want to just shoot me an email, or if you want to let me know at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
But we need to know ASAP.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
All righty. So we kind of rearrange things a little bit. Usually we have public comments before the subcommittee reports, but now I'll open up that microphone to any member of the public that wishes to comment or ask a question on anything that is not on tonight's agenda. And I see two people in the audience, and whether you want to ask a question or not, I have a question that I anticipate you might be interested in. I think that'd be probably a good time to address it. Do you want to be the ones to ask the question, or do you want me? It depends. All right. And we were waiting for Mr. Bellardo to come in, and I already gave Mr. Bellardo a little heads up that we had gotten email contacted by some of the folks that live up in the Knollcrest neighborhood of the Hills following last month's ordinance regarding the stop sign on Hills Drive. And there were some questions regarding really what the ordinance entailed and what the township's responsibility is vis-a-vis a private road in Title 39, and I was hoping that you could kind of explain it a little bit tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. In fact, I do have a copy of the statute with me tonight. It's NJSA 39:5A -1. I noted one of the questions that was raised was, did the township approve the installation of the four-way stop sign or just allow enforcement of the four-way stop sign? The way Title 39 works in that regard is it's up to a private entity or a corporation or a board of directors or a homeowners association to request of the municipality enforcement of a particular road, or in this case a four-way stop. And essentially they're saying to the municipality, we want the police to have the ability to ticket people, run the stop sign there. It's then within the discretion of the municipality to decide whether it wishes to enforce on that particular private road, or in this case a four-way stop sign. So in this instance, the municipality by ordinance did in fact approve enforcement at that particular four-way stop sign. So the police department, headed by Chief Rock, has the ability to ticket people that do not obey those stop signs, but it is not approving the stop sign or the design or the construction or anything in that regard.
Okay. If you gentlemen would like to come up and just ask for any further clarifications, this would be the time to do it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Raymond Bursch. I live at 2 Timothy Lane in Knollcrest neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions that I had when Tim Walter asked me to look into this a couple of months ago was, what really does the municipality have to approve, and what is its responsibility in this particular case, and what's the private owner? So I did as much research as I possibly could on this, and what found was that that there is a paragraph under 39.5A, and it's 39.5A3, And if you really look at that on the surface, it might say that once the private road owner has asked the municipality for enforcement, that the private road owner could still do just about anything it wanted to do, and it was really assuring the private owner that they weren't dedicating this to town, and that's what it looks like on the surface. When you dig in a little deeper, and you have to, because it doesn't make sense in the scheme of the entire Title 39, that someone could go around and put up stop streets where they want to do that, or change speed limits, or even force speed limits on that road. And indeed, what I did find is a case that is State of New Jersey versus Panther Valley in 1998, where from the state appellate court actually addressed the question and looked into that paragraph. And I wrote a letter and I dropped it off to the clerk today, and I know it was late. I don't know if
No, but I believe we all got a copy of it tonight.
I have not seen the letter, although it was on my desk here as I walked in, so I've not had the opportunity to.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect you to. I mean, I just dropped it off this morning, so I will not take a lot of time. I'll just briefly go over the concepts and ask if you would kindly step back and take another look at that. But what the court said in this particular case is that the private owner can do anything that's not covered under Title 39. If an item is covered by Title 39, then the homeowner has to get municipal approval to do that. Of course, the installation of stop signs are also under Title 39. So that then begs the question is, okay, what does the municipality have to do? Well, it has to approve the installation of a stop sign under Title 39 as it would in its own municipality. It goes back to then, all right, so what do we have to do? And there's an awful lot that has to be done. There has to be compliance with the manual for uniform control of traffic control devices. Everything in the country has to be in accordance with that particular manual, and it's laid out in Title 39 with every exception that Title 39 gives to municipality to do something without the permission of without the approval of the commissioner of the Department of Transportation. It said as long as it's in compliance with manual on uniform traffic control devices. What does that require? So you'll see that there's a page on here that tells exactly what that requires. And indeed, it's in Ferraro's letter of August 22nd that has to happen. Right, so if you look at that, then you see in order to do anything of that nature for a stop sign, you have an engineering study. And just say, oh, it's a good idea. And unfortunately, that's what we have here. It's just a good idea. The letter that I wrote the last time when I was not here to speak, that look, everything that we see in traffic studies shows that putting stop signs where they're not appropriate is not a good idea. It is actually dangerous. And it doesn't lead to traffic calming or stopping slowing the speed on that particular street, but actually increases the speed. So with that in mind, and that if you just take a look at the letter, if you would look at this more closely, I think you're going to see that there actually has to be an engineering study here to prove that the exception that you applied to get this, seemingly applied to put this up, would require an engineering study, and I would urge you to do that and take another look at this and get that sign out of there.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other comments? Please come forth.
Good evening. Braggerty Bedminster, speaking as a private individual, not representing the Board of Education, nor any other governmental agency or authority. I didn't pick up, I'm sorry, your agendas are to address things not on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have something that's...
Yeah, the ordinance 2016-018. I just wonder when the exact final wording of that will be available to review before the...
Well, you stay tuned for probably the next 5 minutes, you may
There we
have
go.
something.
That's why you don't want me to waste time on that. Okay. To the ballot question, the municipal public question for the current election. I see an A, and this seems to be a reference to NJSA 40:12-15.7, A, improvements of lands. Now, improvements being buildings, paving, improvements in the sense of land use and so forth? Four lawyers.
Your question is what constitutes?
Improvements, is that like the general public thinks of as improvements, making it better, or it's actually buildings, pavement, and other construction?
Certainly, example is if you look at our hike and bike path.
Right.
And if you look at the older portion of the hike and bike path, you'll see that it probably will need to be repaved in the not-too-distant future. That will be a large ticket item.
Okay.
You can also look at the most recent portion of the hike and bike path that goes up to Burnt Mills Park, and you'll notice that that's gravel. I think we would like to eventually make that gravel pavement.
But-
That would be an improvement.
Okay, that clarifies it for me. So the question basically is getting in line a bit with state law and doing some other stuff. But each,
Part of the goal was that, to make that ballot question to get it more in line with what the state.
good, familiar with that concept. Each project, though, would have to have an appropriation and go through. There wouldn't be like, you know,
It's going to be approved through the budget process.
which maybe I comment.
And then there'd be an appropriate, and Brian's right, when it comes for an appropriation, there'd be a resolution authorizing.
It has to be a
expenditure.
resolution.
Yeah.
This is not a carte blanche to just go and do this
No.
stuff.
Correct.
Public meeting, public vote.
Thank you.
So if we propose paving and you're opposed to paving, they can come up and tell us why paving would not be a good idea.
I'm just a little concerned because there is a political organization in the town that was talking about restoring open space fund in order to protect our community from unwanted development. And I have been familiar with this going on since, well, I think Bernie was the only one on the committee when I started talking about the open space and the funding and so forth. And I was here when it was the two of you were the only ones on. I didn't know we had not had our open space fund.
We do. have open
I
space.
volunteer with environmental organizations, and the big purchase out in the
The only thing that has probably changed in Bernie and my tenure for open space funding, this would go back to my first year, and Bernie would have been on it before myself, was that the open space tax is authorized up to a total of, what, 2 cents?
2 cents per $100 of assessment.
And right now, for the past 6 years, it's been 1.5 cents. And that was in a
I was
tough
here.
budget year.
Right.
We thought that even though the municipal budget went up at a level that we didn't want, we thought we could balance out the tax burden by dropping the open space tax by a half a cent and kind of balance that out. And we've noticed that subsequent to that, we have continued to accumulate money in the open space fund. Continue to accumulate money in the open space fund, not drain it. And it really hasn't thwarted any opportunities to preserve land. And in fact, if you look at the past couple of years, Mr. Jacobs with Santucci, and well, anybody else can tell you, can talk about the many things that have been preserved over the past couple of years. And in some cases,
it takes a willing seller on the other side, right?
it does that, but also we've been very good, and especially the person to my immediate left, in finding out there that aren't necessarily extra tax money. And we've preserved an awful lot of land and leveraged money that's outside of the Bedminster tax rolls to preserve a lot of open space. So as you look at it in the bigger picture, as we acquire more and more and more pieces of property, we do have to maintain those pieces of property. And I think that's where our big challenges come from. I don't know if anyone else wants to kind of jump in on this, but
I was probably the only member of the public here when that discussion came up 4
Yeah.
years ago, so I just wanted to make sure we're still on the same page.
And Mayor Holtaway jumped in, and we opened it up a little bit more to maintenance, and we put a 20% cap on it.
Yep.
And that's worked for us, but
that's
our needs are a little greater.
You talking about eliminating the 20% cap or just changing?
Eliminating the cap. The
Okay.
20% cap would go away. So the 20% cap that's currently in place is a self-imposed restriction that can use 20% of the funds generated that year
Right.
and put that 20% towards maintenance. Now, that's not in the statute, though. It's certainly self-imposed by an earlier township committee, but we've been constrained by that. And Brian, you certainly have been available, or you've been in attendance at our budget sessions, and you've heard John talk about there's more maintenance to do on our open space properties, and especially as we come to the point of having to repave. That 20% cap really was a burden. It was an obstacle to getting some of the work done without dipping into their general revenues. So that was the thinking behind lifting the 20% limitation on maintenance. And then, as Steve mentioned, as we've acquired and implemented additional hike and bike extensions, well, those extensions, right now we have the gravel one to put that into paving. That's not a maintenance issue. That's moving towards an improvement. So by taking the funds that we've already generated and that have accumulated, now we have the opportunity to put those monies to real work of real value without tipping into the general revenues, which would what we otherwise have to do.
Mayor, if I add, the original 20% was also approved by referendum at the time when we didn't
Right.
have.
I remember that.
Okay, so that was approved by referendum. And going back over the years, some of the reasons why that was even contemplated was, in the case of the stall area, we actually had volunteers using their own farm equipment to go in there and maintain that the stall area, and with pathways and getting out the invasive species and things like that. So it dawned us that if we can't, town can't provide for this, and we have to rely on our neighbors to do the work, then maybe we're accumulating too much open space.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't want to put a lid on that. So that's how the number for 20% and the idea of using part of it for maintenance kind of got its birth back a year ago.
Thank you. I thank you all for that. And I mean, that's the information. I thank you for the direction you're going. There was those same organization that called the open space funding into question, which made me think about what it really meant. This ballot question tomorrow. I mentioned ending double taxation in the hills. I always settled that in this room 3 years ago, and I thought I was very vehement that someone tell me what the double taxation is. I don't recall that question got answered that evening. You were here, I know you were here. And
Doesn't that come up every 3 years?
It's a bit of an fair characterization when they say the double taxation, and that was addressed through the Kelly bill. And the last 20 years, the town has put in a association-approved plan on how to address the inequities that were originally addressed with the Kelly bill.
Well, inequities, or was that the agreement under which, and now I've bought in the hills, lived in the hills, owned in the hills, sold in the hills, rented in the hills for a relative, so I'm familiar with the hills.
The theory was...
The original change in zoning, though, sorry.
Yeah.
The original change in zoning was, part of it was, I mean, as it was, the school had to be rebuilt, more police, more fire vehicles for the volunteer fire company, huge impact to the town. I thought part of it was certain things the developer agreed to. And when I bought my place, I was a successor agreement to that agreement. I knew what I was taking on. So I don't understand why this thing.
Well,
anyway, that's maybe not.
It wasn't
tonight.
something that Bedminster brought on. This was actual legislation.
Okay.
At the time, I think it's called Kelly because that was one of the state legislators that put it forth.
I read this, though. I wondered if anything had changed because I haven't been coming every year.
It put the burden on municipalities to either provide certain services to planned communities or reimburse them in kind for the money that they were paying for street lighting, snow plowing, leaf collection, to name a few things, where they're paying their taxes were going for other parts of the town. But over the last 20 years, we worked out an agreement with all the master associations that we would provide certain things, such as the payment for electricity, for the light poles, all the fire hydrant maintenance. And in fact, the agreement was just renegotiated and signed, last year? For
I'm
another
sorry, Mr.
additional-
Payne. I don't know what it is to live in a street since I left the hills that has lighting and fire
Right, or
hydrants.
fire hydrants, sewer, or some,
None of the above.
gas, whatever,
None of the above.
city water.
Nothing's changed, though. This wasn't some new thing that you're
No.
plotting to do in a back room.
No.
Thank you.
Brian, while you're there, since the next subject is 2016-018. Do you want to give us your opinion on that before we go into this? And then maybe it can be addressed as we touch this?
I haven't read it, don't know what it is, and wouldn't venture to make a public comment. I just only want to know if you're striking the final wording tonight, or if it's what came out of the planning board, or if it's still up in the air what the final wording get worked out on the 21st.
Well, we're kind of in a kind of a midway point on this. The ordinance was introduced, I believe, last meeting, and it is scheduled for its public hearing on the 21st. Last week, it was sent back down to the Land Use Board for their review and to see if it is not inconsistent, to use the double negative, but that's what gets used for this, with the township's master plan. They discussed it. They deemed it not inconsistent with our master plan, but there's some significant comments on it, and there was quite a bit of back and forth about some things that we had originally drafted a subcommittee to make the recommendations to the Land Use Board, which was then going to make recommendations to this governing body, and we actually had a pretty robust discussion last week regarding some things that the subcommittee thought were supposed to be in there, the professionals didn't think were supposed to be in there, and there was a lot of back and forth and some comments. And vis-a-vis those comments, Larry and I were at that meeting. I would make the suggestion that perhaps we may want to have this kind of looked at again to ensure that those controversies are kind of, in other words, we come to a...
I agree. There was and do you know, Brian, do you know, still in public comment, or are we moving into the discussion?
Well, why don't we go, I was going to say move into the, yeah, why don't we move in, I was going to move into the discussion.
I'll listen.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Anyway,
your comments.
I was just dovetailing right into the discussion since he was going to ask the questions. So, if you want to continue.
Wait, I think there's a...
Oh, we have one more question? Oh, okay.
I'm Walter for Lock Haven Court. I first of all wanted to thank the mayor for asking that question and communicating with me. I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. I just wanted to clarify with the township attorney. I think you just mentioned that the township didn't need to approve the stop sign, rather just approve enforcement. I guess that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't believe that the township need to approve this stop sign? Is that what you're saying?
Well, Title 39 says if the organization, in this case, the homeowners association comes to us, it's within our discretion as to whether we want to allow enforcement or not. In this case, the municipality took an affirmative act to allow enforcement of that particular four-way stop.
Right. There was some additional information provided to you about a case study, Panther Valley, that...
I was not given that letter at all before arriving here tonight, so I haven't even read it.
Okay, well, is that something you'll be able to take a look at?
I'm familiar with the Panther Valley case in general terms. I haven't read it within a year or two. It's in fact the only case that has interpreted this particular provision of Title 39. It deals with a development up in Alamucci, but I'm going to be candid, I didn't get the letter before I came here tonight, and I have not had a chance to go back and review Panther Valley in about a year or so.
Okay, and that's fair. I'm just asking, is this the final discussion on this? Is this the final answer, or is this something you can be able to take a look at?
That's up to the committee. I'm just the lawyer.
Okay, maybe that's something you can, I think it's important. I think it might pertain to this, especially for liability and safety reasons. I don't know if you've gotten any feedback the chief has about what's going on with that stop sign, but, you know, a lot of people going through it might be because it's new, but...
Well, you do have a bit of a grace period with a change in the traffic pattern. And I know that it was pointed out that there may be some tweaks that have to be done to the signage and the size and the how high it is, how low it is, whatever. And so it may not be completely baked yet as far as what the association has installed yet, but that's up to the association. I mean, as far as I look at here is, we passed an ordinance to put the stop sign on the books of enforceable traffic. I personally would, you know, if Mr. Borlardo takes a look at it, if there's anything he wants to, if there's anything of merit to report back, I'm sure he will make it known to us, and we will listen to that. But also wouldn't, opinion, I don't see this all getting erased or repealed unless there's some really amazing thing that hasn't been considered. I think we're here to listen. I think we'll read Mr. Birch's letter, and if there's something, we may revisit it, but I don't really see,
That's all I-
I'm not going to give you any promise one way or the other.
Well, listen, I'm not an attorney, neither is Ray, but, we'd like to get your opinion on it, that's all.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's track over to 2016-018. Any other comments we want to, questions?
No, I agree.
Okay. Public hearing on ordinances. We do have one ordinance for a public hearing tonight. We don't have anything to introduce. We do have one public hearing, and that is ordinance 2016-017. It's a capital ordinance for the appropriation of $17,600 for equipment, vehicles for the Pottersville Volunteer Fire Company. This ordinance appropriates Bedminster Township's share of the funding for the purchase of equipment for the Pottersville Fire Company. And did we get a list of what they're buying? I know it's within the appropriation that we've set forth in the,
Mr. Davis came to.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Went over,
it's that venting system.
system.
That's right.
Right.
I apologize. Yeah, I do remember that. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing for 2016?
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Is there any member of the public that wishes to comment or have a question on this? See none? Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Would somebody like to introduce ordinance or make a motion for 2016-17?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Roll call vote, Mr. Payne?
Are we're talking 2016-117?
017.
017.
This is for
The
Pottersville
Pottersville.
Fire Company,
Okay.
Capital.
Okay. Oh, I'm looking at another one. Okay, very good. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Olson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you. Just a quick note, I do know Pottersville also did reach out to Tewksbury for some additional funding. I don't know how that went.
Oh, and something that I will mention that I probably should have mentioned in the public, or in the Township Committee comments or the subcommittee comments, to share with you, if in case you hadn't seen it, we did get a letter from the chief of Engine 29 with regard to some comments that had appeared in the newspaper regarding this township support or lack thereof for the fire departments, and it was the chief's he wanted to express the opinion that that was not the opinion of 29 as an organization, and he didn't know where that came from. And he thanks for our support.
No,
And-
you made it very clear that,
Right.
when...
And the chief's letter was addressed to the Burnsville News?
As well as Township Committee, I think so.
I thought it was.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you if you had not seen or heard that.
No, I did see that, Mayor.
We don't have anything on the consent agenda. We have 3 resolutions. Resolution 2016-116, Crescent Hills Municipal Alliance and Youth Services Commission Grant. Judy, you want to tell us how much money there is?
So this is the normal renewal of the grant process.
Oh, the process.
The budget is pretty much status quo. It's just the approval to move forward with the additional year going forward. It needs to be signed off by all the mayors, Bar Hills, P-PAC, Bedminster, and Bernardsville. And that's giving Mayor Parker permission to sign off on the agreement to approve the submission of the grant application.
Any comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second?
This would be a roll call vote. Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Olson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution 2016-117, authorizing support for a passing zone on Schley Mountain Road as requested by NJDOT. Looking for a sign?
So you have a letter that goes along with this information that came from NJDOT. The chief and John Mance, myself, were looking at this before the meeting. It's a little bit confusing, but it looks as though there was a request, there's a no passing zone in the section of Schley Mountain Road that we call Ramp Road, between the entrance onto 287 North and 202-206 Light. we call that ramp road, but it's still part
Right.
of,
Before you make the right turn up the hill.
correct. So they did a study that this is a no passing zone. They've implemented the correct lines on the road to indicate no passing, but to finalize all the required paperwork, they need a resolution of support from Bedminster Township. And that's what they're requesting in their letter.
I'm not clear where passing zone would be restricted. Now, on Ramp Road, when you come off 202, 206, and you're going around, Hills Village North there, and you're heading in a direct line, and you have some cars bailing out onto Robertson, and you have people merging from both sides, from both 202, 206 south, and then those that are in the turning lane of 202, 206, from north, and then 202, 206 south, that turning lane, they all kind of merge there. They're naturally passing each other. Well, some are going straight.
Well, you have a double lane on each side, but the center line is the no passing zone. So you have two lanes going from 202, 206 to the, I'll say at the turn at the bottom of the hill,
Right.
High Mountain Road.
Right.
And two coming the other way. The center line is the solid line, no passing zone. That's what
Right.
they're
There's
saying.
only one lane coming on the southern side,
Okay,
and
right,
then there's a turning lane onto Robertson Drive.
right.
Right.
But they're saying you can't pass to go over the center. They're saying the center line is a.
So somebody would be, I've seen anybody try to pass or cross that center line.
Bless you.
I mean, it's not that big of a long strip of a roadway.
It's been like that for a long time, I don't know why all of a sudden.
Right, apparently,
Yeah.
this isn't anything new. They just realized that they never got a resolution of support
Oh, okay, okay.
for this.
I mean, I don't know, was there ever a,
Still a dashed line there.
yeah, I know, but anybody ever get a ticket for crossing the yellow line in that little strip there? I mean, I can't imagine anybody passing anybody.
Imagine it's happened, but
Yeah.
I mean, you'd
I
have
mean,
to
it's-
you have 2 lanes to go north, so
Yeah.
why would you go over the double yellow? I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Okay, all
sure.
right, that's fine,
Yeah.
I didn't see the problem.
I
or-
didn't understand what the problem was. It looks as though everything's in place, everything's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
They just going down their checklist, they don't have a resolution of
Sure,
support.
if there's the yellow, double L line, then there's no passing. I'm fine with that.
So they're not changing anything.
I just
not
didn't know where the
doing
problem was,
It's just
what the
paperwork
traffic
that they're-
problem was.
Is
Okay.
what I got from this, so.
All right, that's fine.
Any other comments or questions? I'll take a motion.
All in favor?
All right,
Thank you all.
And finally, Resolution 2016-118, issuing a ban of $992,950. And this is our annual ban renewal?
So every year we roll over our ban, usually in the beginning, first week of December, but we have to do actual requested bids from various banks. We send that out mid-November. This is a resolution allowing the bond counsel and CFO to go through that process. Now our amount that we roll every year is shrinking because we're paying off the ban within the allotted time. It's not increasing this year. It's decreasing. So this is just permissions for them to do their process.
Any comments or questions? I'll take a motion.
so moved. Second?
This requires a roll call vote due to its finance. Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Olson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Now, there was an addition.
I have that.
Yes.
I have that. I almost forgot. We have Resolution 2016-119. That was a late addition tonight. And this resolution authorizes the current fund transfer of funds in the total of $500. And it's going from OE for finance to DCRP.
CRP is one of the requirements for some, it's a program for some of the part-time employees, and status of employees changed over the year. We didn't quite put enough in. We did an estimate through the end of the year, and we're like short $500. So we're just moving it over from the finance department. It's really very minor.
Any comments or questions? I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Again, a roll call vote. Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Olson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
The bill list. Can I get a motion to approve the bill list pending the approval of individual invoices?
I'll move that, Mayor.
Second.
Roll call vote again. Mr. Payne?
Aye.
Mr. Olson?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Discussion items. Do we have any discussion items, any new business before we hit the old business? Seeing none, as we look to old business, Pony Farm, I know of nothing that's changed with the Pony Farm.
During the open space inventory, we
Took a hard look at that.
took a hard, exactly, you know, Stacy, here.
No, we took a hard look at that, and there are a lot of items we need to look at, as John has been saying, but that's certainly, as Mayor has been saying, we need to take a really hard look at it by the end of the year. There's a drop dead date, so keep saying each and every meeting, and we keep talking to Jake, hoping he can put it out there as well. But it's going to come to a point where we need to do something there.
Walking around the property with the folks from environmental and open space, there was, you know, the initial thought is there's got to be some way we can put this property back into use within the constraints of the open space requirements and Green Acres restraints as well. And then as you know, we peered through the windows and you see the damage, you see the water damage, you see the other issues, you begin to see that, well, you know, the building may not, you know, from the outside, you drive by, it looks great, right? It looks great. But then when you come closer, you really see the issues that John's been talking to us about. And, you know, as we've said before, it's not going to get better by itself. So each of the members of the Open Space and Environmental Commission who were at the tour, you know, they sort of said they're going to think long and hard if there's any other organizations that they think that may be in a position to utilize it, but there's
I'd like
no
to get
expectations.
inside. Actually, we weren't able to really to go inside at all, but John's been in there.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not as nice as when we were there a couple of years ago when we first got it. Well, I think, you know, we've set a line in the sand a year ago, and the sand ran out, and we got a last-minute reprieve. I would say as we look to the budget season next spring, we need to figure out next year's budget, what we need to do with what needs to be done to it, if we're not going to have anybody in there. So I think maybe kind of the next line in the sand. So. Right, the RAPID program, I believe that's what we have next. The only thing I have to add is I did speak to the proprietor. He talked to me of the small jewelry store down near Little Pickles and Luna Rosa, and he gave me a lot of feedback. I think I'd like to share that with you all at a later date when we have a little bit more time. I think that's something that needs a lot of head scratching. So, in the interest of time, I'm not going to really talk much about it tonight.
So we'll keep both matters on old business.
Yep. All right, which brings us to the second round of public comment. I got a wave from the only member of the public, unless Jake wants to say something. No? All right. Seeing no public comment, we will go to Township Committee comments with the understanding we do have an executive session. We have several things on the executive session, none of which I believe will result in any action tonight. So, with that, we will go to Mr. Payne.
Just a short little anecdote, given that tomorrow is Election Day.
Oh, yeah.
I happened to see the end of an interview on TV where they had a constitutional professor of constitutional law. He was a historian, author, and the question that was posed was, what would the founding fathers think of this presidential election and everything that's transpired? And you were anticipating that the professor would say, well, you know, he'd be appalled. The founding fathers would be appalled or, you know, totally disgusted by it. And his answer was really revealing. He said, the founding fathers would be very delighted because it's all going according to plan. And he elaborated by saying that the Madison and Jefferson and Adams and Franklin, it was very contentious back then, and they encouraged vigorous debate. There was a lot of acrimony. In fact, Burr and Hamilton actually, went for pistols at dawn. And that design of having that robust debate is part of the American experiment, and that's why it's endured for 240 years. So the professor went on to say, don't be disillusioned when you go into the voting booth if there's no one there that you really want to support or you dislike. But by being you're perpetuating this great experiment that's now endured and the ability to vote. And don't worry about who puts their hand on the Bible on January 20th, because there's checks and balances. There's a Congress, there's a judicial branch, there's amendments to the Constitution to preserve state rights, so we don't go back to a monarchy. Or power being concentrated in one person. And the other beauty that the professor said, and this is what he ended it on, he said, the beauty is you get to do this again in 4 years. And I just thought that was a great story.
That is good. Listen.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Bernie for eloquently trying to take some of the terror out of event. I think I'll just leave it right there, but I thank you. Mayor?
Ms. Jacobs?
Just to echo the sentiments of everyone else that, please go out and vote. And also just because the municipal public question is something that, I put out there. So I would certainly urge everyone to vote yes on the municipal public question. That's all, Mayor.
Santucci, do you have anything to say about this election this year?
It's important to take part and get out and vote. And that's all I have to say.
Well, I'll say what I say every year this time. We always have our first November meeting the night before the election. And although very many people in this room and there's a camera, and by the time anybody views this on YouTube, it'll be long past, I'll still say this for the record. Campaigning should be over. Tomorrow, people vote. I would ask both sides. I would ask all people that are involved with either campaign and trying to influence to please just allow the voters to do their thing tomorrow. Unfettered. The campaign is long for candidates at all levels and full of strife, but let everybody just vote tomorrow. And tomorrow night, this time, we'll probably figure out, or maybe a couple hours after this time tomorrow, figure out where the chips fall. I'll continue on as Mr. Payne said. Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll see you in the back. Thank you.
Did the chief?
Hold
I
on.
don't think.
Yeah, we're back on.
Microphones are live, and I have 9:21. We are out of executive session. No further action tonight. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.